Hey YouTube, this is Motor X Daddy here. We got the Rockwell 11-inch lathe. I have it stripped down so you can see. It's got a new coat of paint on. That's Massey Ferguson gray. It's the Rust-Oleum farm implement paint. Pretty happy with the way it turned out. A couple of spots looks a little scratchy. I don't know if you can see that. Mostly in the tray area, but I don't know. I might put some kind of clear coat or extra coat on that, kind of like you do with a polyurethane, just to give it a nice durable surface. I don't know. Probably go a long way with putting rags down in a chip pan. You know, rags for the tools that are down there, and then a cookie sheet under here, just to keep the pile of swerve from scratching everything up. Hey guys, we've been looking at a lot of different things. I've been really busy stripping the paint and showing you the different parts and how we've organized things in the shop. And one thing we haven't talked too much about is the actual paint itself. As I've shown you before, and as you can see sitting on the lathe right now, there's a Massey Ferguson gray, which I got from this Rust-Oleum farm implement paint. It's Rust-Oleum, probably equivalent to their professional brand, but this is branded as farm and implement. I don't think there's much difference. I figure if it's good enough to hold up reasonably well on a tractor, that it's probably going to do pretty good on my lathe. So this is the stuff I use in my shop when I painted the lathe. We got mineral spirits here. That's good for general cleanup of the paint. Sometimes you'll be, halfway through the job and maybe you'll smear, along the metal bedway there. And I don't know about you, but for me, even with a razor blade, or that paint can be awful to get off. So I try to take a damp paper towel with spirits and go over it if I find anything before it's fully cured. Other than that, it's like scraping and razor blades and Scotch-Brite, and you'll be there for a while. I still have some old paint that somebody smeared all over the inside of the bedways that I don't like, and I'm trying to get that off, and it can be a real bummer. I use denatured alcohol quite a bit. Once we go through everything and I clean it with a water-based degreaser, basically an industrial detergent like Purple Power, the Simple Greens, those kind of things. It's good. I like to go over it with an alcohol wash. After it's been soaked in water, to go over it with the alcohol. It's not that bad for you. Don't drink this stuff because it's not that kind of alcohol. They put stuff in it so you don't do that kind of stuff. But if you can spray it on liberally and not have to worry too much about some of the, like you would with some of the nastier chlorinated solvents and things like that. And like I said, I went with the Rust-Oleum primer. It's like a base gray primer, and then a Massey Ferguson gray. I may not use the primer on the cast iron. A lot of people say you don't need it, and sometimes it can even be detrimental. I was just watching Keith Rucker's video on his lathe that he's rebuilding, and he went with a oil-based paint right over his cast iron LeBlanc he's working on, and if it works for him, I'd like to give it a shot too. So okay, here's a little quick setup of what I'm doing with my paint. I have one coat of paint on. I have everything masked up, as you can see. I made a couple of little fixtures for the small bits. Just basically pounded some bolts into a piece of wood that fit. And, Put some spacer blocks under a couple of the pieces so I can paint the edges without them, you know, having to paint the newspaper. This was a little trick I did where I made some wooden dowels to come up into these screw holes in the top. And what that allowed me to do was to paint the underside here first, and then I slid it over to the edge and screwed in the fixture from the top, grabbed the fixture and turned it upside down, or in this case right side up. Was able to paint the outside. I think that worked out great because this stuff takes a long time to cure, and putting multiple coats on, having to wait to flip it would have been a lot more time than I wanted to do. So this is a headstock all masked up, and let's see where I got inside. I think I'm just gonna go over the outside this time because the inside really isn't that important and it's all sealed up anyway. Just the outside, I need a second and third coat to get rid of some of these bumps here. As you can see, it's kind of grainy, bumpy looking. So we're gonna give another coat of paint and then transport it out on this plywood to my 3-season porch, which gets really hot, and let it bake out for another week. So that's the technique I used. Motor Axe Daddy over and out.